Imagine a billionaire so arrogant he thought he was above the law until the black female judge he refused to stand for made one move that flipped the entire courtroom and exposed a truth so shocking the world couldn't look away. What began as disrespect ended in public humiliation, career ruin, and a viral moment that became a symbol of justice striking back. Don't miss this jaw-dropping story of pride, power, and payback. If you believe respect is earned by character, not color or cash, smash that subscribe button and join us for this unforgettable ride. It was a crisp Monday morning in New York City's federal courthouse, and the gallery was packed, reporters elbowing for the front row, cameras flashing behind glass, and whispers about the trial of the year, People versus Blake Langston, a real estate mogul worth $3.2 billion. Blake Langston wasn't just known for his towering Manhattan developments and endless cash flow. He was infamous for arrogance, backdoor deals, and a reputation for crushing anyone who stood in his way. The charges: insider trading, money laundering, employee mistreatment, and racially motivated hiring practices. But none of that fazed Blake. His lawyers were the best money could buy, and his smug face made it clear he thought he'd walk free by lunchtime. But when the bailiff announced, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Savannah Brooks," Blake Langston stayed seated. His legs were crossed, his diamond-studded watch flashed as he smirked, and he didn't flinch. The courtroom fell into shocked silence. Judge Brooks, elegant in her black robes, dreadlocks tied back, her eyes sharp as steel, paused at the bench. Everyone stood except him, she noticed. Her gaze swept over the room like a storm front. "Mr. Langston," she said coolly, "is there a reason you refuse to stand for this court?" His response, a snort and a chuckle. "I stand for justice, not for quotas," he muttered, loud enough for reporters to hear. Gasps rippled through the room. The bailiff bristled. Lawyers froze. Judge Brooks blinked once, slow and deliberate. "Noted," she said, then struck her gavel. "This court will remember." Under the gavel over the next 3 days, the trial unfolded like a national reckoning. Prosecutors presented emails laced with racial slurs, private recordings of Blake bragging about firing single mothers and immigrants for entertainment, and internal memos showing deliberate exclusion of minority employees from promotions. But Blake, he was untouchable, or so he thought. When his defense tried to object to the inclusion of a former janitor's testimony, saying it was irrelevant, Judge Brooks raised one eyebrow and said, "In my courtroom, the truth is always relevant." It wasn't long before the public caught wind of Blake's courtroom stunt. Social media exploded with hashtags like #StandForSavannah and #ArrogantLangston. The footage of him refusing to stand went viral overnight. Activists rallied outside the courthouse, while television anchors replayed the moment in slow motion. Blake, for his part, seemed amused. His lawyers told him Judge Brooks was too woke, that she'd crack under pressure. But they didn't know her. Savannah Brooks had spent her childhood in rural Alabama, watching her mother clean motels while white patrons walked past her like she didn't exist. She graduated top of her class at Harvard Law, worked civil rights cases in Mississippi, and earned her gavel by fighting systemic injustice tooth and nail. Blake had no idea who he was up against. And on day 4, Judge Brooks brought the thunder, in a move that stunned the defense and floored the gallery. She ordered the court to recess for 48 hours to review newly surfaced evidence from a whistleblower, a former assistant of Blake's, who claimed there was a private offshore server that stored everything: fake invoices, wire fraud trails, even recorded abuse. Blake's face finally lost its smirk. The reckoning begins. The courtroom filled again, this time with a weight in the air like something monumental was about to crash down. The whistleblower Lisa Martinez was flown in under protection. She was nervous, trembling, but Judge Brooks, leaned down and offered her a look of calm strength that said, "You're safe here." Lisa revealed that Blake's empire was built not just on shady deals, but on stolen pensions, evicted families, and entire neighborhoods bulldozed for his profit. She handed over emails with Blake, mocking those low-income pests and laughing about bribing zoning officials. The documents were airtight. Blake's defense scrambled. His team asked for a mistrial, argued that the evidence was illegally obtained. But Judge Brooks silenced them with a firm hand. "You will not turn this court into a playground for privilege," she said, voice ringing out like a bell. "This court stands for justice for every name your client erased." The gallery erupted in murmurs. Blake tried to speak, demanding to take the stand himself. But when he did, it was a disaster. His tone dripped with condescension. He blamed lazy communities, insulted the press, and even referred to Judge Brooks as emotional. That was the moment everything tipped. Judge Brooks calmly turned to the jury and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, you have now seen the character. Behind the suit, Mess Man believes he is above the law, above decency, and above you. I trust you'll remember that when you deliberate." She then dismissed the court for deliberation. It took less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Blake Langston's jaw dropped. The courtroom exploded in applause. Reporters sprinted to cameras, and Judge Brooks. She simply stood, nodded to the jury, and left through her chambers dignified and silent. Her presence louder than any verdict ever the world rasped. But the story didn't end there. Within 24 hours, clips of the trial hit 200 million views. Black leaders across the U.S. and U.K. praised Judge Brooks for her poise, restraint, and command. Civil rights organizations called for national judicial reforms, citing her as the gold standard. Protesters became advocates. High schools played her closing speech during assemblies. A tweet saying she didn't just wear the robe, she wore the truth, got 10 million likes. Meanwhile, Blake Langston's world crumbled. His board removed him, clients pulled contracts, and one by one, his properties were repossessed. Lawsuits from hundreds of former employees flooded in. Even his own family released statements distancing themselves. He went from penthouse to prison cell in 30 days. But Judge Savannah Brooks didn't stop. She declined interviews, ignored publishers, and returned to the bench the next Monday like nothing had changed. Except everything had. A week later, a young girl named Tasha wrote her a letter that said, "Dear Judge Brooks, I saw you stand tall while he stayed sitting. You made me want to become a judge too. Thank you for standing up for people like me." That letter went viral too. And when it did, Judge Brooks finally gave one interview. Sitting in her modest office, she looked directly into the camera and said to every child watching, "Know this, no one is too rich to bow to justice, and no one is too small to rise with it." Her words were etched into murals, posters, and classroom walls. The courthouse where she served was renamed the Savannah Brooks Justice Center within a year. And Blake Tino teaches financial literacy classes to inmates as part of his sentence's prison record marked by the name of the judge who brought him down. Judge Brooks never asked for praise. She only asked for justice. And justice stood tall, even when the billionaire refused to stand at all.